This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD Rebecca Rafla. She is a vocalist, jazz artist, and uh, very let's see, talented with color. You have this colorful dress, and your voice is full of color.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So you are in Indiana. You're based in Indiana. In what town?
So I live in a suburb of Indianapolis.
Oh.
I'm not originally from here, but I've lived here for almost 9 years, and so don't see myself moving anytime soon.
Have you been in Chicago? Because you sound your speech sounds kind of like from around here.
That's funny. My mom is from Wisconsin,
Uh,
and my father is from Egypt, and I lived in Kentucky most of my life, and so my voice is very not really tied down to anything, but it's kind
mhm.
of come up with a more Midwestern, slightly northern accent.
So when you were learning to sing, uh, where were you at that time?
So I did not formally study voice until college. I went to a school in Birmingham, Alabama, Samford University, and studied classical voice. That was my degree, and loved to sing, loved to learn about classical music and, develop that skill. And it speaks into a lot of my singing even today with jazz.
What is classical voice? I know what classical music is, but this is the first time I hear about the classical voice.
So classical voice kind of comprises a lot of classical music, so operatic singing, and singing arias, and even into some more kind of musical theater repertoire. I also studied
Mhm.
some of that. And so, yeah, I love to sing classically. I don't sing classically very often, but it's just a little bit more operatic than my jazz singing, and it's got its own flair and flavor that's really beautiful and engaging. And so a lot of the classical repertoire was written in those 1700s, 1800s, things like that, that I studied. But there was also a lot of more contemporary music. I haven't sung any of it in a very, very long time, but it's a really fantastic foundation for healthy singing and projection and singing that is really grounded in good technique.
Mhm. Did you want to learn singing and then was that your major?
Yeah, so I majored in voice, classical voice, but I also did a lot of prerequisites for dental school, and yeah, which is kind of crazy. But I loved jazz. I knew that was the avenue of singing I was probably going to end up in, and decided to go to dental school and become a dentist as well. And so jazz has been coming more to the front of my days, but I kind of double majored in college, so kind of crazy, but it was really good. It stretched me and taught me a lot about time management, and all of that is super important when it comes to singing and really life in general.
Any connection at all between the dentistry of the mouth, taking care of the mouth, and also singing?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. So, music is this art form, and dentistry is the most artistic form of science I think there is. And so, that kind of artistic, creative mind is really flourishes in both things. And then on top of that, I find that, you know, just learning more about the physiology of the mouth
Mhm.
and the voice is so important. And so it's definitely given me a foundation that I can kind of lean back on with my singing and even with some students of my own for singing. So that's really cool and fun.
Do you find that what you learned in dentistry help you take care of your voice, take care of your mouth, so that you uh, project a better sound?
Yeah, I'm to some degree, yes. I definitely think that my training in voice is, of course, the most important thing, and the best education I had in how to sing and project well. But singing, I think music is something that is in every aspect of my life. I also get to sing a lot to my patients, which is fun. And so, yeah, it's been really fun. And also, dentistry allows for me to have a more flexible schedule so that I can invest in my music and really pour into that a lot.
Oh, you must have some very lucky patients because you have such a beautiful voice that you must relax them, and they're lucky they get a free performance.
I'll be honest, most of my singing is, Disney princess songs because I'm a pediatric dentist. So I only work with kids. So I do
Uh-huh.
a lot of, Elsa and Cinderella and all the princesses. So
Those are
but no,
not
it's
easy to
really sweet
sing.
and fun.
Those are difficult to sing, but you
They
got
they
them.
actually are. Those are not easy songs. Most of them are quite challenging. So it's fun and keeps me singing. Anything that keeps me singing makes me happy.
Definitely. What do the parents think? Do they hear you?
Sometimes they're like, "Hey, wait, you actually can sing." And I say, "Actually, I'm a jazz singer too. I just released an album." They're like, "What?" And so I get to share it with the parents and so yeah, it's really fun to kind of let them know about the other half of my life.
Mhm. So were you singing as a child, and then you wanted to learn how to sing better, maybe like breathe better, how to actually perform well on the stage, and then that's how you took up classical voice in college.
Yeah, I've been singing, I don't know, a day where I haven't been singing. I've been performing in church since I was very, very young,
Mm.
and always have enjoyed it. I don't, remember a time in my life where being a part of a choir or band or anything, it wasn't a big part of my life. And so I'm really grateful to my parents for that. I didn't formally study voice truly until college, but I studied flute starting in fifth grade all through college as well. So and played that. So that also kind of gave me a good foundation with my singing. I love the flute. I think more people should play the flute. I don't play it a ton. I did play it on the album I just released, but don't pull it out often because I enjoy singing more, and I don't get nervous when I sing. I get a little nervous when I play the flute, but it's fun. It's really really fun.
When you breathe and play the flute, is there any similarity between that kind of breathing? Is that also a diaphragm breathing for the
Oh,
flute?
absolutely. Yeah. Air is what makes flute make sound as well as the voice. So, what's really nice about the flute is that there's not a lot of resistance.
Mhm.
I really wanted to play the clarinet growing up when I was very young, and my mom brought home a flute, and I'm really grateful. Not saying that you can't sing well and play the clarinet, but instruments like that have a lot more resistance to the air put a little bit more weight on your vocal cords.
Mm.
And so the flute is a lot easier on the airflow and doesn't have as much resistance. So it's a really good instrument, especially a good wind instrument to play pair with singing.
Yes. Otherwise, there's too much strain in your voice. Let's say if you perform both
Yeah.
and the same at the same stage.
Right. And I know some people who play, trumpet and sing beautifully, and that is awesome. But I think the flute is a better fit for me. So,
What about let's I work at a grocery store and I notice like for heavy things it's the guys that are able to like maybe lift the heavy things across the belt better than me. So I ask my customers to help me. What about let's say these wind instruments? Do would you say that like the male physiology do they have more muscle in playing these wind instruments than the females?
no, I think that girls can play all the instruments just as well as a boy, I think.
Uh,
I think it just depends on how you train and how you work at it.
uh,
And, I think that a lot of people might say the opposite about singing or like, oh, is it easier for girls to sing than boys? Or, I think that anybody that wants to work on their craft can achieve wonderful things. And so I think like a deep talent that's kind of innate is ideal. But I definitely know people who just work on it and work on it and just thrive. And so I don't really think it matters. I think work ethic matters the most.
I could relate to that too because I was I always loved to sing like when I was a kid and then I would sing to my family when let's say when we visit grandma and all that,
Mhm.
but I always wanted to learn how to breathe and then in college finally I found someone to teach me how to breathe, my chorus teacher, and he's awesome. He sounds like Robert Goulet.
Oh
So
my goodness, wonderful. Yeah, breathing is so important. And I'm a mom of three little ones, and we work on deep breathing a lot all the time just because it helps calm your body down. It can really just help you in so many aspects of life, but definitely is important in singing and playing an instrument, that's a wind instrument.
are your little ones learning to sing as well? Do they see mom singing and say, I want to sing too?
Um, they are very, very sweet, beautiful singers. I have twins that are 4 and then an 18-month-old, and they definitely enjoy it. I can tell that they're all pretty musical, which is exciting. But also, I don't ever want to pressure them. I think a lot of people feel this pressure as parents, to set your kid up for the most success. But I think a more natural allowance of their creativity is nice. We'll probably do some sort of like piano lessons or violin lessons one day, but especially with the voice, I think it's better to learn an instrument to start, because your voice isn't even developed till you're, um, you know, in your 30s, really, for
Oh,
most women,
oh,
fully. And so it's hard to see, very young, 6, 7, 8 year olds taking voice lessons, which, if they're working up a part for Annie or something like that, if they're in a musical, that's different. But I typically prefer doing vocal training in those later teen years or
oh.
older, because I don't know. I think it's just important to have a little bit of freedom there and not get too structured.
Mhm. What about the, so you said that is it the female voice or even the male voice doesn't fully develop until 30?
I think the female voice is like mid 30s,
Oh my
but
God.
don't quote me on this. I think it's the early to mid 30s for female voices. I think men are a little bit younger, maybe like late 20s. Um, but don't quote me on that because I'm pretty sure I'm right. But yeah, I mean, I've even seen in my own singing, the singing I did in my early 20s versus now my 30s, it's different. I was just actually texting with my voice teacher from college, Christina Villaverde. She's a very gifted soprano, and she and I were texting and talking about the album I just released, Fundamentally Unfinished. And she said, "Oh my goodness, your voice is so like mature and different, and you've really settled into it." And I think that has just come with years of maturity. And then there's also physiologic maturity that has been nice to see my voice kind of settle, but there's still more room for growth and development and really honing in on my craft.
Mm. So I do understand like practice makes perfect, but the physiology, I this is the first time I heard that the physiology affects the voice as well. So let's say when it's immature, when it's not fully developed, then what does the voice sound like when it's not fully developed versus like enough practice or not enough practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can have a beautiful developed sound when you are young, but I do think that your voice does change as you get older.
Mhm.
And so, because your body's changing, it's not just and I think that's probably even true for instrumentalists, but it's especially true for singers. And so there's a purity that's so sweet and kind and beautiful in young singers' voices when they're just not inhibited and they're not trying to sound like anything else. They're just sounding like themselves.
Mm.
And that's what I still, even in my 30s, aspire to have that, like, the essence of vulnerability and purity that comes with less experience, to be honest.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I think that every stage of my singing has been valuable and important and good, but it has just changed. It just looks different.
I think what you're kind of saying is there used to be there time when there was less control, and it would be really nice to melt the control with the free flowing non-control.
Yeah. And jazz is an exercise in that too, where my singing changes, even within a song, there's more controlled sections, there's more free sections, you know, um, there's just a lot of sweet freedom that comes with jazz and this style of music.
Is there any pattern to jazz songs? I could see that there's places where there's control and then there's free and then there's a time for improvisation. Is there any like pattern to what I always hear? Like, do you usually start with uh, a set melody or a set tone and then drift off to improvisation or what is it actually like? Do you know?
Yeah. Well, for me, with the songs I just released, in the album there are ten songs. Four are standards that most people who love jazz music are familiar with, and then six songs are original songs. And so um with my original songs, I really felt that I had to, showcase the melody for what it was, initially, because I'm introducing the song to people. I can't just kind of, go fly off the cuff and do all these licks and different things right off the bat, because my hope is that other singers will want to sing this, and I've got to introduce that melody. And I feel like with the standards, I can have a little bit more freedom earlier on, but I still find that I try my best to be honest about the composer and the melody that they've written, and then kind of bring a little bit of my own finesse and color to it. Um, and so it's fun. It's fun to see how each song kind of develops and changes and whatnot.
You wrote Sunday, right?
I did.
And how did that come about?
Oh man. Sunday is a song that's kind of the centerpiece of the album because it is so different from the rest of the album. I wrote the song Sunday out of a place of sadness. I was in a darker time emotionally and felt like I was losing, you know, losing part of myself and part of what I thought life would look like and and then I wrote the lyrics that just tell this haunting, it's not even a story as much as a longing call um, that just is about someone who's missing someone that they love and aching to be with them. And there's almost like a ghost-like quality to the cello that plays in this song. And that one was a really special one to write. And uh, yeah, it was a really special one. I lost a dear friend right before the album released, and so it was exceptionally emotional to share that. Um, yeah, it's a really different song. It's almost like jazz meets singer-songwriter vibes too. It's not quite true to either genre, I guess.
Did you feel a little better after writing it? Did it calm you at all?
Yeah, I think writing music, really all of the music that I've gotten to write has been transformative in some way, healing in some way. Um, Sometimes I need something that's a little light, um, and I think that each song kind of provides its own opportunity for growth and change, which is nice.
When did you decide to write instead of singing standards?
I moved to Indy and I think it was 2018 is when I moved here.
Hmm.
So, um, I it was a hard transition at first. And I started meeting jazz musicians and started hearing their original compositions, and I started getting inspired. And I came up with the song or a melody for what is now the song "A Day and Then Forever." It was the first song I wrote really in the jazz realm,
Mhm.
and I brought it to uh, Rob Dixon, who produced the album Fundamentally Unfinished and is a dear friend and exceptional saxophone player and artist himself. And I was really nervous. I brought it to him. I said, I have no idea if this is any good at all. And he listened and he's like, no, like that's kind of cool. And we sat down and we spent, I think, 2 sessions kind of working through that song, and then more came and more came and more came. And COVID hit in 2020, and I went from singing out and performing 3 times a week or more to not. And so I needed an outlet, and so started writing even more. And then I started having children, which is one of my biggest inspirations. And um, I wasn't able to sing quite as often, as I wanted to, but it forced me to enter into this different level and space for creativity. And so I wasn't so busy singing out, singing out, singing out. I was singing out, yes, but not as often, and spending more time contemplating music and writing music. And out of that came an entire record. And there's more songs to come. I'm still working on stuff. It's been a path I never really thought I could go down, but it's been really fun to explore that part of me. And I think I'm transforming. I'm always going to be a singer and a vocalist, of course, but I'm transforming into a more creative um, well-rounded artist, which has been really, really exciting.
I guess before you were writing and now you're kind of planning out the stories so that you were able to envision the album, unfinished
Oh
business.
yeah. That I mean, every time I do a show, I really think, what am I saying? Why am I saying it? And like, what is the overall message that I want the the listeners to leave with?
Mhm.
And so the album Fundamentally Unfinished has its own story. I mean, it starts out with the namesake of the album, the title track. Fundamentally Unfinished is all about how love is something that can happen to us, and once we fall in love, you just kind of realize you're unfinished without it. It just changes so much about how you think about the world and how you interact with the world. And then the next song, A Day and Then Forever, is all about how one day, one moment, one meeting, one date can turn into a lifetime together. And I wrote that song 2 months before I met my now husband,
Oh,
and I got to live that. I got to see how a day can last forever. And then, the album continues on with just some fun songs, and then Sunday hits you like a ton of bricks, and then it ends with these standards and ends with what a difference a day makes. That's like it's the cycle of one day can change everything. And that's one of the central messages of my album Fundamentally Unfinished. It's a big part of my heart. So it's really fun to share that and to express myself through it.
so do you feel that the appreciating the day that just happened is important, or is it more important to be ready for the next day?
I think appreciating the day as it's happening is something I'm not as good at, and I think that has a lot of value. I think I'm really good at looking ahead, looking ahead, looking ahead. And when you work on an album, of course, there's parts of that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But without that kind of spontaneous, creative, um, like living in the moment, in that day, in that space, with that set of musicians, you have to live in that space, especially in the studio. Um, or it's very hard to create magic unless you're present.
Mhm. When you were young, did you ask to start singing, or did your parents guide you into singing, like on at choruses and whatnot?
Well, I don't think that they could have stopped me from singing in some way, even if they didn't want me to. My mom and her mother were musical. My dad had a harder time understanding all of the musical things, but he's always been proud of it. And so I think, yeah, I definitely think that my parents set me up for loving music and being part of choirs and things like that. But it definitely what came out of my own heart too. I I how some people get grounded. I would get grounded from singing every once in a while because my mom would say, "You've been singing for 2 hours, just quiet for 10 minutes, no singing." And so, yes, I sing a lot. I've always sung a lot. And look at where it's got me. I'm I'm very blessed that my parents endured a lot of singing around the house and otherwise.
So I guess you were singing and singing, and then finally said, "Oh, might as well get you lessons, and might as well get you into chorus so that you
Yeah.
the singing actually does something."
Yeah, my parents have gone to endless concerts, band concerts, choir concerts, orchestra concerts, solo concerts, jazz concerts, I mean, like shows now, they've really yeah, they've really committed a lot to me and what I'm doing. So, it's good to know that they're proud of me.
And what about the brothers and sisters? Do you have other siblings that sing like you, or are you the special
I
singer in the family?
I have two brothers, and I think that they both could sing very well if they were trained on it. But my older brother liked to sing and he did choir and stuff growing up. My younger brother was in orchestra. He played the bass.
Oh.
And so, but I think that they're both good singers. Yeah. I think there are a lot more great singers out there that just haven't had as much exposure or training.
Mhm.
And so I always think everyone can become a better singer. Everyone. I really, really believe that.
Are you already working on new songs and your next album? Are you planning it out?
Yes. Well, my next album is actually going to be a little different. My next album, I'm currently working on a lullaby album. It does have some jazz elements because I've written some original songs and I can't help but have jazz elements to what I'm singing. And what I'm writing. But the song on Fundamentally Unfinished, called I Love You, I Do, I Do, I have a lullaby version of that song, that will hopefully come out later this year is what I'm hoping. It's going to be a much smaller scale project. I think it's just going to be me and a guitarist, Patrick Wright. He's fantastic. And so it'll be quite a few originals and then a couple of standards. So totally different. But then I also have some other jazz songs that I am working on, and I'm hopeful in the next, it'll probably take me a couple more years at least to really hone in on that music and get it to where I feel ready to record and share it. So, but yeah, so definitely two more projects like in the works, and excited to get to share that with others soon.
So you're singing, you're planning lullabies. Is that deriving from your kids?
Yes, yes. My children are just the most amazing, amazing kids. I'm honored to be a mother, and yeah, it's a joy to write them. And a lot of these lullabies just were like in the moment I'm rocking them and I start singing to them and the song starts emerging, and the lullaby I love you, I do, I do. So that those lyrics, that line, is actually the last thing that my grandmother said to me before she passed away in 2020. And she was very ill, and she just said, I love you, I do, I do. And it's really sweet to have gotten to write a jazz song that she would love, very fun, upbeat, playful. I mean, she was all of those things. And then I'm excited to release a lullaby version, um, kind of to honor my grandmother. So important singing.
Mhm. What about your kids when you sang to them the lullabies? Uh, I'm sure they enjoyed it, but at what point did they actually fall asleep?
Yeah, sometimes they fall asleep with me singing to them. Usually at this point, especially my older kids, if I'm singing them a song, usually they're singing along. So they don't normally fall asleep anymore now that they're a little older because they are busy singing along with mommy. And my littlest one, I usually sing her to sleep every night. So it's the best part of my day.
What that's becoming a mother, did that change your voice at all? The
Oh
physiology of
yeah.
the voice?
Yeah, the hormones for sure. So what's really interesting about Fundamentally Unfinished, I recorded it over about a year. I was pregnant with my now 18-month-old. And I suffered from swollen vocal cords whilst pregnant, which can happen from the hormones that your body creates. And I was going through vocal therapy and was really struggling to sing. And we had already booked the musicians for the main band in June of 24 to record. And we did that in 2 sessions. And I sang along, but it was very taxing. And they weren't the final vocals. And so the doctors assured me once the baby was born that my vocal cords would heal and it would be okay. And so I recorded the vocals for this album 4 months postpartum. And that was a lot. And I definitely think changed how this album sounds. And in some ways, it gives a more raw, authentic sound, which is really exciting. And I do think my voice has matured and grown in warmth as I've aged. I'm still very young in the grand scheme of life, but having children has definitely caused my voice to blossom into a warmer space.
Mm. So the swollen vocal cords only happened for this one child. The other ones didn't. You didn't have
Yeah, with my twins, it did not have any problems. So it's a rare thing that the doctor says can happen, and it did. It was a very odd and very hard 8 months because I truly I didn't feel like myself. I missed singing. I missed that, and I wasn't able to do it as much because of the physiologic restrictions. And so, yeah, I'm glad that season is
yeah.
behind me. But it's crazy to think that this album really came out of a really intense season of pregnancy and postpartum and I'm so grateful to my husband for all of the ways that he supported me during this whole process.
Did you write more if you couldn't sing as much as you would like during that time?
Yeah, during that time, Rob Dixon and I were able to work on some of the arranging and some of the horn lines, and I do some background vocals in one of the songs that would not have come had I been able to do my final vocals that weekend. So it is a blessing that I was able to sit with the music a little longer.
What song was that?
Um, oh my goodness, Without You. It's
Oh,
kind of like more of a pop tune. And there were some background vocals that I got to do that are kind of cool harmonies and some dissonance even in the sound. So yeah, if you haven't listened to that one, check it out because it's another kind of very different song. It's a little bit more pop and soul, jazz, kind of that vibe. And there's a really cool horn line that accompanies it. I had the best musicians that played on this album, truly the best. So very honored.
so Without You is your composition, right?
Yes.
If our listeners want to learn more about you, Rebecca Rafla, where should they go?
They can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and my email contact is there. I'm a very personal person, so if you enjoy my music, send me an email. I will respond to it. I promise. I love hearing from people who enjoy my music, and so you can contact me, follow me. I post about shows and events, and we'll be posting more soon about some music that I'm hoping to release.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca Rafla.
Thank you.